I have so much for you today, and I'm so excited to get this information out there. So first of all, if you're not in mortgage or real estate, you may not understand any of the words that are about to come out of my mouth. If you are in real estate and mortgage, then you're not gonna just wanna watch this. You're gonna probably wanna share this with a lot of people because I've got some great information for you. There was a case that came out a couple weeks ago against a company called Freedom Mortgage. Now the case is it's a consent order, and so it's basically just the CFPB believing that Freedom has done something wrong, and then Freedom paying $1.75 million to settle this case. Now at the same time, in this case, a real estate company is paying $200,000 for their participation in what the CFPB deemed to be a RESPA violation. So the funny thing about this case is it actually deals with things that a lot of people are doing. And in fact, in classes recently, as we've been talking about this, a lot of people are saying, well, we're kind of doing that, so what do we do about that? And the answer is, you just change the behavior. So before I get into this, let me just tell you, I'm not an attorney, so any information that I give you isn't to be taken as legal advice. You should probably talk to your own attorneys. In fact, I definitely recommend right now finding a really good RESPA attorney if you're doing these things, but I'm not that guy. So this is my opinion, and it is not a legal opinion. So Freedom Mortgage was actually accused of giving a thing of value in exchange for the referral of business to a real estate company. Now, RESPA basically says you cannot give and you cannot receive a thing of value when there's a referral relationship involved. And so giving a thing of value, you would then be guilty, and then receiving one, you'd then be guilty, which is what happened in this case. Not that there's any guilt involved, but Freedom Mortgage paid $1.75 million for giving a thing of value allegedly to the real estate company. Real estate company paid $200,000 for receiving it. So let me just talk about who's involved here. If a lender gives a thing of value to a broker, that would be covered under RESPA. If a broker gives a thing of value to a real estate agent or to a title company, then that would be a thing of value if there's a referral relationship. If a title company gives anything of value to a loan officer or a realtor, that would be covered under RESPA. So everybody is kind of looped in here. So here's the gist of the case against Freedom. Freedom Mortgage had a relationship with a real estate company. It was a marketing services agreement where they were paying money to have a relationship where, the real estate company is doing some marketing for them and they're kind of working together to grow their businesses. Well, the biggest problems that were discovered were, number one, open house flyers and other marketing. So open house flyers were being paid for by Freedom, allegedly, for the real estate company. And what they were doing is they were just printing these flyers out or having these flyers available, and then the real estate company would benefit from that, but they weren't paying into like the printing costs or the design costs. In fact, it calls out that Freedom Mortgage had a designer on staff that can make these flyers. Well, that's a thing of value. So follow me on this. Mortgage companies right now have access to flyers from their wholesale lenders where the wholesale lender paid for the design work and the mortgage originator is just basically printing that but not paying for access to that system or for the ability to get that. And that's what the CFPB called out here. Now, the impact is a lot of people are doing that. So I want you to think about, is this a really good practice, or should I be reading this Freedom case and maybe making a different decision? The other thing that was done is they were throwing parties for the real estate company, allegedly. Now, of course, there's an MSA involved, and so you have to think about, is that what tied this party to the violation? Because we all know there's lots of parties in the industry. All I want you to do is think about parties you go to or parties you host. Are you doing that for the referral of business? And if you are, then maybe you want to make a different decision based on RESPA. The whole thing calls out, you cannot give and you cannot receive a thing of value. So let me break down one thing that I saw just recently that I think you should probably pay attention to. A wholesale lender, remember, can't give a thing of value or offset a cost normally incurred by a loan officer who's in a position to refer them business. So in a case that I recently saw or an email that I got, the email said that a lender is willing to pay a mortgage training company like mine in order to offset the costs that would be incurred by the loan officer. So now CE is something you have to take every year. And so if a lender is offsetting that cost of CE, and if you read RESPA, you might not attend that class because it could be seen as a thing of value you received in exchange for referring business to that lender. We don't have cases on this yet that I can show you, but I can tell you that you should pay attention to it. This Freedom case changes everything for you in that they're really watching. They really want to know, are you doing anything as an originator to offset the cost for a real estate agent? And real estate agents, this case tells you you're not off the hook because they paid $200,000 and their crime was receiving these open house flyers, was receiving access to a login to a technology that the mortgage company was paying for. And so as a real estate company, do you really want to receive these things if you might have to pay a fine later on or settle a case with the CFPB? My guess is you really don't. You don't want to put yourself in that position. So this case puts the mortgage industry on alert that the CFPB is definitely watching out for RESPA. Pay attention to all of these opportunities that are out there and ask yourself this question. Am I paying for everything, or is somebody paying for something for me because they want my referrals? If that's the case, you definitely don't want to participate. That's all I have for you. I will see you next week.